Hello, so here I am for my monthly mark making. Thanks for all the likes and subscribes and comments. So if you wouldn't mind subscribing if you aren't already, that would be great. So here I am at this wonderful view that I've been doing monthly since January, and this is Mosley and its views of Saddleworth and of the moors. And I'm just going to, I'll turn the camera around in a minute actually, so I won't sort of try and whiz it round whilst it's at the back of me. But this is now July, and so we're kind of mid-summer now, and so things have changed dramatically, and the liminess and the zinginess, which had already started going in June, has further gone, and we've had quite a hot spell. It's a little bit cooler today, but quite a hot spell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my usual monthly mark making, but before I do that, I'm just going to twiddle around and show you the view. Okay. So here we are. This is the wonderful July view that we have, and as I say, the sun is coming up now. It's quite early-ish in the morning, although the sun is fully up, and we've had a really hot week, and today is the first day it's started to slightly cool down, but by later it will be quite hot, and so it's somewhat bleached. What we see is a little bit hazy, quite different in some respects to what I've had before, because I've not done it in this sort of hazy summer light, and I'm just whizzing you round just to the full capacity. Okay, and then if I just mark down here, I've got everything ready. I've got way too much kit, but I live quite close, so that's all fine. I've got some watercolours, I've got some acrylics, and I've got pencils and other mark making tools that I usually use. Nothing really different. And I've got my big A2 sheet. Okay, I'll get started. Okay, so I just thought I'd walk you through the July booklet. So this rather unusual pinky purple is the thistles that were in the foreground, and I was quite fascinated by them, and they were creating quite a massive display that was taking up quite a lot of the height as I was sitting there, and stone walls and so on. So that's what that is, and obviously a lot richer in colour, lots of more sort of goldy colours of the moors, and then the real bright greens of the fields now, and a variety of greens actually in the fields. This was, I think, probably some of the stone walls or some of the buildings even, and it seemed appropriate at the time to use that kind of orangey colour. I'm using inks here, and that's the strong colours that you get. And it's a kind of a richer, flatter landscape now. We're getting into, you know, midsummer, and so that's, you know, causing these changes in the landscape and what you see. And this is quite sort of rich, more of the same, big sort of marks of the yellow. I forget what that was now, but this is certainly one reminiscent of one of the hills, and the sort of flat textures in a way. And then you get the much more blousy, cloudy textures of the tree canopies. This is more of the lines of the landscape, which I think is possibly derived from the field patterns, which are actually the stone walls, and then other, the sort of reminiscent textures now of the moors, quite gold in the way the light was hitting. And that's it. So as you can see, things are continuing to change as we go through the seasons. And yes, so that's my July booklet. So in addition to my July mark making, I've been starting to think about some other aspects of this marking seasons project. For those of you that have been watching my videos for a while, you'll know that a lot of the work that I'm developing around the local landscapes is going to be exhibited in an exhibition at Gallery Oldham next year in 2022 called Landscape Inside Out. And this monthly marking seasons is going to be part of that. And over the months, so I've got 7 months worth now, each month I've actually not just been doing the monthly mark making and producing these single booklets, but I've also been creating or writing about each month. So when I'm out and about, each month I do a double page or so, just writing, as I'm looking at the landscape, what comes into my head about the colours and the marks and the patterns and the layers and everything else in the landscape. And in addition, I have a page that I just write some short form notes. Often they're just words or groups of words. And I've been doing that monthly ever since I started. And I've been thinking over time about how I might incorporate these words, and they may, form paintings together and so on. But in terms of how I display the work, I'm quite keen, I think, at this stage, unless I change my mind, to include these folded booklets just as they are without text. So I've been starting to think about how I might display the text. And bear in mind, so what I've done here is I've got 3 of my booklets, and I've opened them just out on one page, as you can see. And these together amount to, this is an A3 piece of paper. So these 3 months together, so this is March, April and May, which together form obviously the spring. These 3 will sit together. Now, whether or not I have all 12, i.e. every month, in one tall long line, or whether I group them in 3s and have them across remains to be seen. That's a level of detail I don't need to worry about yet. But I am going to obviously be sharing them in seasons, and that's part of it, has been about looking at how the changes occur in terms of the marks and the patterns and the lines and everything else and the colours throughout the seasons. And so what I've started to do in this booklet, having this in front of me, I've started to see how I might do that. And of course it won't be in this booklet, it will be on something at the side of these visuals, but for now I've done it in this booklet. And so what I've done is, this is spring, because these are all the spring months, and then I've just written the salient aspects of each of the months, and it's quite interesting. I'll move closer so that you can read better. So in March, I've written, golds, beiges and rusty reds and burnt siennas of maudlin tops, mottled flocculent textures, and patterns. Even the darkest darks are inky and red brown. And then I talk about the greens, and I talk about the depth in the landscape and how there's some signs of spring and how it's changing compared to the winter. But then in April things change a lot, and I start saying spring has really started. Limey yellow, zingy green of new growth in leaf, big swathes that envelop the landscape. Talk about the textures, I talk about the muted flat tones of the stone buildings and walls, and I talk about the moors and the depths in the landscape. And then by May, I'm talking about a rich verdant landscape, much more settled greens, less sparkly, contrasting textures and softer and more wider range of marks. And so by just putting some key notes, you start to see the real development of the season, and that's something I think I'm going to probably be displaying something similar on paper alongside. So I just thought I would share that with you. I'm also obviously going to be thinking about how I do the covers for these booklets, but I haven't started to worry about that yet. So I thought I would just share that with you as I'm starting to think about it alongside my my July mark making. So thanks very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe, and I'd love it if you made comments if you have a moment, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.